Well, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever it is for you, wherever, whenever you're watching this, for me it is noon, Saturday, March 13th, 2021, here in a nicely sunny Seattle. It is 60F, which I think is, give or take, about 15C. I am hearing myself in the background, so I guess that means my stream is going. I had it open in a tab. All right, so today is a whole bunch of variables, which it makes me a terrible scientist. So I apologize if one of those variables goes sideways, um, but that's just kind of the way it goes. First variable, obviously, we're here on YouTube instead of Twitch. That's something new. Let me say hello to the chat. Make sure that's working. Hello. All right. The other thing, another variable is I'm using some different streaming encoding settings, and that is related to my third variable, which is I have new internet access. So we have a whole lot of things that could go sideways. On the whole, I think everything should be at least as good, if not better than before, but we'll see. In the internet access department in particular, I'm hoping that the reason I was dropping frames before was because I really wasn't, my old upload wasn't really able to sort of keep up. I have since switched to gigabit fiber service, so that should definitely help. So where are we going today? What are we doing? We need to do some issue review first, issue discussion review, I guess we'll call it. Let's see, where do we not have? Looks like this is where we start with new stuff for this week. So here's the discussions. Failing tests on async, exceptions from other threads dispatchers. I have a scenario where a user will create a test for a component that has asynchronous code that throws an exception. However, the exception should ideally be surfaced in the test, but is not. Fact test news up a BUnit test renderer, asked it to render a component, rendered to the component under test. Component test performs an async operation, HTTP client call. When the async operation completes, continuation is invoked. Test renderer's dispatcher and any uncaught exceptions is captured by it and won't show up in a test. When an unhandled exception is caught by the test renderer's dispatcher, a callback is invoked from where I could forward the exception, but how? Okay, so this is kind of an interesting scenario. Really, the answer to this question is that the only way, well, actually, I should start typing while I'm talking, right? The only way you can realistically get an exception back to xunit.net is to ensure that it is thrown on the thread that the system believes is running the test. This means you'll need a way to marshal and rethrow the exception back on the original thread. We have some, let's see, I don't actually want to say we have some code because what is that thing called? Let me go look. It's like this version of Visual Studio not secure and must be updated. You need to update to the latest. Okay, apparently I'm updating Visual Studio. How did I not see that until now? Also, you didn't see that yellow bar. I feel like that yellow bar comes from work. All right, go ahead and update Visual Studio. While you do that, let's go look for rethrow on GitHub. Let's see if we can find rethrow. Right. So this used to this is actually parsing the rethrower. That's not what I want to do. I tweeted about this. Let's see if we can find it this way. Hey, Visual Studio installer, go away. I don't care about you. Let's say from me, rethrow, throw. Let's see. Let's do latest. Um, wow. How about exception? Let's see. Need to rethrow. Also, I put a dash in there. That was why I couldn't find it before. Perfect. Let's go grab that link. So I describe the catch rethrow process here. The exercise left for the reader, aka you, smile, is determining how to get that exception back onto the right thread to rethrow it. Okay, where we are with that. All right, this is one that I've already put some answers into that I'm guessing we got some responses to. This is right. So the person is trying to get XML out of assembly runner, which we don't make easy today. I think. Digest, see what I can do. Good evening, blah, blah, blah. And that would be the best way to run and the result is XML. Yes, so there's not much to talk about here, but this will be easier in V3. And I'm planning to, as part, which will include an API overhaul of assembly runner. Yeah, so that's all I'm going to add to that one. Okay, that's fine. Accessibility of XUnit core framework components. Hi folks, I'm wondering if it's possible to run my tests with a customized XUnit test class runner without doing a lot of heavy surgery. I'd like to play around with overriding create class fixture. I notice that components like these are instantiated manually, so I guess extensibility using DI or so is off the table. Still, the places where this happens are all virtual. Heavy lifting is all we can offer today, I'm afraid. You are correct. There is no DI anywhere in XUnit.NET v2. So this, I think, observation example. Yeah, so observation example. We have an observation framework sample. Actually, go ahead and put the word sample in here. That's fine. Sample. All right, you're blinging at me. Installation complete. Are you sure? 1691. Okay, good. You're sure. Very good. Go ahead and minimize. We have an observation framework assignment which shows how to do the heavy lifting. It's not easy to get in the middle, but you can start to opt out once you get to the place you want to get. So for you, that means, let's see. An assembly runner, test collection runner, etc. All right. Where you want to go. Virtuals at least make this fairly straightforward. even if you do end up having to write a dozen classes. Sideways. What's the sideways smile called? This one. Well, not worried face. What am I looking for? Oh, that's, the right emoji is important. Don't dismiss the importance of the right emoji. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe that one. Maybe slightly frowning. Slightly frowning's alright too. Alright. And now we are back here. Let's go ahead and close all that. So that should be all of the discussions. See what's going on for issues. We'll give you a quick last time we got together, I meant to review these code analysis things from Alex, and I did not. I'm still not going to do it on stream, but hopefully I will at least remember next time to review what he's done. All right, class fixture creates multiple times when debugging. When I run all tests, my class fixture is only created once. When I debug my test, my class fixture is created multiple times. I've tested class fixtures and collection fixtures. They have the same situation. Here's my code. Yeah, I don't know if I want to dig into that today. I feel like I'm just going to leave this here to come look at off stream. That could be a while figuring out what's going on there. Assert equal crashes with Stack Overflow. Class implements I read-only list to return a single item of itself. Yep. Here's the code. Yep, that's a bug. That's also a really stupid implementation. Sorry, you, Wei-Fen. Read-only list returns a single item of itself. How would you not consider that an infinite loop? I'm willing to mark this as a bug. But how can you not consider a list which returns itself as an item in a list a classic case of an infinite loop? This feels like a code issue. This feels like a design issue. My temptation fixing this bug is to actually call this an error condition. Stack Overflow is bad and not illustrative, but I think any list which contains itself when being checked for equality, checked for deep equality, should throw a "you shouldn't be doing this" exception. Not as my comment. Don't do this. Hey doc, it hurts when I do this to my arm. Don't do this. Labels, assertion library, bug. I don't know if I want to mark that help wanted because I want to fix that in the way that I want to fix that. Complete string diff. Yes, though it's not obvious. So maybe we should add a flag. Change assert equals s1, s2 to assert equal, it's actually equal, not equals. Assert equal object S1, S2. So it bypasses the special handling used for strings. Okay, that shows up. So there's that. 5 hours ago. I see that's pretty timely. Okay. All right, we're going to come back to this. You did not get marked with anything, so that's a good. Oh, actually, this should get marked with a. Stop that. This should get marked with a flag. Labels. I want to call this the assertion library feature request. Right. And then I want to edit the title to say add flag to string assertions to disable partial display. Okay, that was dumb. My headset just turned off, which reminds me I'm supposed to be listening to music. If I don't listen to music, my headset turns off after 20 minutes. Hey, look at that. I've been live for 21 minutes. I did include today a link to this playlist, which I'm going to just go ahead and update this playlist every time I stream. Today it's Hans Zimmer music. I'm just going to start listening right now. I am going to turn it down so that it's not blasting in my ears, because that will just cause me to shout. Because these headphones they seal out the world pretty well, honestly. Okay. That's a better title for that, for the feature that I want. I'm going to add, I think, both of these into the roadmap, the V3 roadmap. That's not the edit button I want. That's the edit button I want. Okay, so this is assertion library. This is called assert equal crashes with Stack Overflow. Assert equal crashes with Stack Overflow. The issue is this. And then the other one is add flag to string assertions to disable the partial display. Add flag to string assertions to disable partial display. Okay. That's good there. Those are now both on the roadmap. And they should show up as such in the issues. Ta-da! Ta-da! Now they're getting into V3. Okay. So this is no different than... we got 2 linked issues, right? So this is the DevSecOps stuff. This is this PR for this that I'm still not ready to review yet. And I'm not ready for this yet. And this is the one I think that I said I'm not going to take because it's V2. Okay. And no asserts PRs, so we are done with review. This is going to get loud right now. Boom. Okay. You're still a little too loud. I love this soundtrack. Crimson Tide is just a fantastic soundtrack. The year that this soundtrack became available, this is like a common thing in my 30-second digression. It's a common thing in movie trailers not to use the soundtrack music from the movie itself, but to homage for soundtracks people like to use the music from the score music from other movies for your trailer. And when this score came out, like for, I don't know, 12, 18 months, like it seemed like every trailer had Crimson Tide music in its trailer. Like this was just an astonishingly good musical score. And I mean, Hans Zimmer popular, unpopular opinion. I really don't know which one to call it, but Hans Zimmer is definitely hands down my favorite composer, more than John Williams. I put John Williams in the number 2 slot. Don't worry, John Williams is fantastic, but I like Hans Zimmer better than John Williams. All right, moving on. Today, one of the things I am looking to do is I would like to get, I like to start getting NuGet packages out. Simon Fell on Twitter. Simon Fell on Twitter. Wrong Simon Fell. Okay, Simon Fell. Who's the Simon Fell who follows me? What? Yeah, Super Fell. Okay. He asked the other day about XUnit packaging. So it's probably worth talking about really quick. Wow, I didn't think it'd be so hard to find this. All right, so from Superfell XUnit. What? All right, so now I'm going to go to, let's see. Let's go to my page. And we'll do tweets and replies. And let's talk about, sorry that I'm going through this so quickly. There we go. Oh, Simon Crop. That's why I couldn't find it. It's Simon Crop, not Simon Fell. My bad. Wrong Simon. All right. So Simon asked, is there a CI of NuGet? CI NuGet XUnit. So first of all, the answer is yes. We have a NuGet gallery. This is where the CI for XUnit is. You'll notice, even though 2.4.1 was our last release, there are some 2.4.2 builds here. Not too many, but this was sort of as these builds sort of came in, this is before we sort of figured out that we were just going to do a 3.0 and stop actually shipping up NuGet packages. So 2.4.1 here was October of 2018. I realize it's a long time ago, 2.5 years ago. And so we did a few changes over the intervening year that got in here as 2.4.2. This is where things will be for V3 in this NuGet gallery. So Simon was asking, is coincidental because I actually had already started on the work to do the packaging stuff. So I said, although there's nothing generated yet for V3, it might be fixed this weekend. That's what we're going to try and do today. I am warning him that it's not super ready. I'm warning you that it's not super ready. So Simon wants to do some testing on this stuff. So basically I just said, hey, that's kind of what we're doing today. So we're going to get that up and running, see how we can do on NuGet packaging. So at the moment, what I've got is, let's try a build packages. I've got these changes that you can see this is a pretty substantial change set right now. 13 new files, 31 changed files, 3 deleted files, right? That's a lot. And I kind of want to get that cut down a little bit. So I think, first of all, is trying to understand exactly what I want to start shipping. But then also looking at all the things that I did in the process to get the packaging stuff to work to ensure that I have reasonably smaller steps that are more useful. Like reviewing a change that's 60 files long is kind of annoying. So if you are following along at home and you do a build, you do build packages, right? That's what I did, build packages. You'll see that what you'll get is this artifacts packages folder that has a bunch of nupkegs in it. So if I do dir artifacts packages, which by the way, there's also an artifacts test folder where all the HTML and XML output from tests lives, if you ever wanted to see the results. So let's go to artifacts packages. So you can see we have some packages here. XUnit v3, that's our meta package. We'll talk about that in a moment. We have assert as a binary and assert as a source. We were already doing that in v2, so we're going to continue that process. There's a new package called common, which contains binaries that are common between um, the core and the runner. Um, we've got core and extensibility core, and I'll talk a bit about why they're split up like that in a moment as well. Then we've got the runners. So we've got the standalone console runner, the standalone MS build runner, runner utility, which is used by people who want to create standalone runners. And then, of course, the in-process console runner, which is sort of required for it's when you link a test project right now, you always get the in-process console runner. And the out-of-process console runner will then be used to run that later. So some of what I've done here is basically getting those things set up. So first of all, I don't think I want to ship any of the out-of-process runners yet. So I think I want to stop making this console and MS build runner project. So we'll take a quick look at one of the things I did here was I set up, let me open VS Code. So there is a C# project inside of here, which is the builder. So when you run that build command, it's actually compiling and running a C# app. Because that app builds everything else, it can't be in a normal solution. So it has its own CS proj. It's not part of the normal solution. So when you come and look in the solution, you don't see it here, right? This is just XUnit, which, by the way, you guys should get unloaded. It's just XUnit. So this builder is the thing that does the builder. So for example, when we say build packages, it's running the packages target. One thing I did in the build system for build packages is I added this check to make sure that we don't build anything that has where there's a folder with a .no package file. So in order for me to not build console and MS build, all I should need to do is to say touch source XUnit v3 runner console no package. No package, that's what's called, right? .no package. And then we'll do the same thing for MS build. And now when I build packages, which I can skip the build step and just do the packaging step. All right, then we'll get our assertion stuff, common, our core, our runner inproc, and our runner utility. Okay, perfect. So now I don't have to worry about shipping the console runner and the MS build runner because honestly, those are two of the things that are not ready to be consumed yet. And let's do a git reset here. Because I want to start cherry picking the things that I needed to do here. So what are some of the things I needed to do to get this to work? So obviously this no build thing, right? So that's going to be in Tools Builder. So this no package thing. So I want to stage this. What I had originally done before was just exclude the TDNet runner and the non-nullable project, which that was kind of like, that was like a cheesy hard code. This no package file is definitely very convenient for this. So let's go ahead and stage this change. And then from an untracked files perspective, I want to stage the no package for non-nullable. I definitely want to stage the no package everywhere I see it. So there's runner common, runner console, runner MS build, runner TDNets. I don't see any more no package. So that's all the no package stuff. I think that's all I need for this change. That's a pretty small change. I'm comfortable with that change. And these files are all empty, right? They just got, use touch, make an empty file. So let's commit that. Use no package file to indicate project should not generate a NuGet package. Okay, that's pretty good. So what's the next thing I did here? one of the next things I did was, so I started doing IL repack. So you can take, normally when you compile an assembly, so like if I look in, let's look at something that's repacked today. The console runner actually is repacked. So if I look in release net 472, right? So here's all of the assemblies that are part of this package, part of what's necessary to make this runner run, right? So I can run that thing like that, and it runs. That's great. However, part of the problem is I don't really want to ship all that stuff as separate files, and so Microsoft has this tool called IL merge, which they invented a long time ago, in order to basically say, here's a bunch of assemblies, merge them all together. And so we'll take a quick look with IL spy. Let's take a quick look at this. So if we do IL spy, let's look at mono Cecil and XUnit v3 runner console. Whoops, right, we'll do that. All right, and then we'll do the XE. Right, so obviously XUnit v3 runner console in its references has a reference to mono Cecil. Actually, that's kind of funny that it doesn't show up here. Is it metadata? I don't know where it would show up. Anyway, oh, it doesn't directly have a reference to mono Cecil. Something else has a reference to mono Cecil. It has a reference to runner utility, which itself has a reference to mono Cecil. Okay, so if I were to look at this, what I would see, for example, is that XUnit runner system console, which is the entry point class, right? This is the program, this is the command line, and this is the console runner. All right, so these things are public. Well, program and command line are public. And then the stuff inside of mono Cecil itself, all these things, let's find some things that are public. So all the things in the mono Cecil namespace, there's a bunch of things that are public right here up top. Okay. So what the merge process does is now if I go look in the merged folder, what I'll see is XUnit abstractions, because we can't actually merge that. I'll explain why in a minute. And then just one big giant XUnit console XE. It's a lot larger than this because it actually contains all the binaries from all these DLLs compacted inside of it. So 1.6 megs as opposed to 58K. But you know, that's because we have 357K here and 355K here, and okay, so you get the point. If I IL, first of all, I can run this executable, and it still runs, which means you know all of its references are working. And if I IL spy that thing, what we'll see in this version of XUnit runner console is that mono Cecil now is embedded inside of here, right? There's no mono Cecil here. Come on, pop open. There's no mono Cecil here. There's literally just the code that I wrote. But there is mono Cecil here now. And if I pop this namespace open, all these things that used to be public are now internal. And so, you know, why do I do something like this? Well, there's a couple of reasons. In the case of the console runner, it's because I just want to ship a single executable. Or a single executable and a single DLL. And I don't want to bring along dependencies that could conflict with dependencies of the things that you're testing. Because remember, XUnit v1 and v2, you can run those tests in process. And so if I have a copy of mono Cecil loaded publicly, and you write tests again that use mono Cecil, but we've used different versions, we have a conflict. And resolving that conflict is actually very difficult, sometimes impossible. So the easiest way to resolve that is to just stash all that stuff in here. So that's what I've done. IL merge is the tool that Microsoft invented to do that. But IL merge doesn't work with anything except for .NET Framework, and we also need .NET Core, .NET Standard support. So I did IL merge to do that stuff. So maybe the next thing I should do is get all, or sorry, IL repack is a tool that I don't know if I said this yet. IL repack is a tool that is basically a replacement for IL merge. It's written by a third party, not written by Microsoft, but it supports .NET Core and all that stuff. So I have what I have done for IL repack. I'll show you here. So in the props, I bring in a package download for IL repack. For those of you who don't know, there's a package reference and a package download. Let me pop this open a little bit so you can see. So here's package references. This is normally what you think of with a reference for a NuGet package. Package download basically says, just download this thing. Don't reference it. I don't want you to, it's not something I'm going to consume directly, but I need it to be on disk. And actually, we already have one of these. This is this netcore app ref that's actually used by the reference assembly annotator that allows me to get nullable reference annotations inside of .NET Framework. So here we're using it to pull in a version of IL repack. And then we also, I had to move this for reasons that don't matter right now. Okay, so let's stage that. The other half of this is targets. First thing I wanted to do is I noticed that every time we build executables on Linux and Mac OS, they weren't marked as executable. So I'm doing a chmod plus X if you're on a non-Windows OS and we're building anything that ends with .exe. What's nice about that is I can just then run the exe directly on Linux and it runs it with mono. And then I added some IL repack targets for this. And so what these IL repack targets do is I split them into two targets. The first one's called IL repack, and it triggers off of the fact that you say, I want to run IL repack. It normally wouldn't trigger, right? And it's automatically run after a build. So the way that you would enlist in this, if we go take a look at a CS proj, let's go look at console, for example, the CS proj. You see I opted into IL repack right here, which is going to run IL repack true. Come back up here. What does that do? It basically gives me a message that shows me that I'm doing IL repack and then calls this IL repack conditional. So you probably didn't notice it when we were doing builds because it would be really subtle. But if I scroll all the way back up here to when we were doing builds, you'll see that runner console, right? This is the normal build. You can see we're building into bin release x86 net 472, and then you'll see another message here. Oh, that's 4.8. Where's runner console? Where is merged? Oh, here's an example of merged, runner tdnet. So here's runner tdnet for net standard 2.0, and then here's the merged version of runner tdnet. So this is a really subtle message, but it's basically, this is a message that's just here to say, by the way, I'm also doing the merge task. Gives me a little visual clue of what's going on, right? And then this conditional, what it basically does is we gave inputs and outputs so that it'll only run when necessary. The input is the unmerged executable, and the output is the merged executable. Right, so this inputs and outputs on a target in MS Build basically say, this is how you know when you have to run something and when you can skip it. So then what we do is we make what's called a pre-merge directory and a merge directory. I put a comment in here. We copy assemblies into a pre-merge folder because there's an issue with IL repack. You don't have to worry about that. But what we do is we copy all of the assemblies, all the target assemblies into the pre-merge folder. So where do those target assemblies come from? They are every DLL that's in your path, that's in your bin folder basically, as well as the target executable. We allow you to specify IL repack exclusions, and basically this says, hey, if there's a DLL that shouldn't be merged in, we won't copy it in. Instead, what we'll do is we'll copy it by hand into the output folder. So when you saw the XUnit abstractions DLL sitting there for the console runner, that's the IL repack exclusions doing that, is saying instead of getting you merged in, you're a file that needs to come along. We go find the IL repack exe, which, this is just path magic. This stuff is just sitting in your NuGet package cache. We also want to make sure we invoke it with mono if you're not running on Windows, because it is a .NET Framework executable. And then we take everything in the pre-merge folder. That's the main assembly that we're going to merge. And then the output assembly goes in the merge folder. You'll notice when we did the dir before that the pre-merge folder has been cleaned up, so you only see the merged folder. But there is a pre-merge folder here while we go. So then after the first thing we do then is we create a list of items to copy. So anything you didn't get merged, we need a copy of. We also want to go grab all the config files. So like this xunit v3 runner console xconfig, that file needs to come along, right? Because if I take a look at that file, that is important. It was auto-generated during the build process, which basically says, hey, you're .NET 4.7.2, and here's all the assembly binding redirects that are necessary to get you to run. So that's a necessity. And then we also grab all the DLLs that are in the dependencies list. We do. Actually, I'm kind of surprised there's not an exclude here for. Actually, why isn't this just assemblies? Mega premerge DLL, because that feels weird. Like I should be excluding the target path. Well, I should be excluding the main assembly, really. Now that I'm reviewing this is why you do code reviews, right? Directory build targets. This should be excluding. Exclude is going to be the main assembly. All right, don't do the main assembly. Let's see. Okay, so we copy all of the outputs to copy into the merged folder, right? That's our config file and anything we excluded. We run IL repack. Internalize, that's a switch that says make everything that was public internal. Say I don't care about PDBs, because I don't. If you can't find any references, go look in the bin folder where we built. So anything that got excluded that didn't get copied into pre-merge, for example, this is where you can go find a copy to link against. I suppose we could have done the merged folder, but whatever. And then here's where you output. Here's our main assembly as an input, and then here's all of our dependencies separated by spaces. And then when you're done with that, go ahead and mark that as executable. And then delete the pre-merge folder. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and run build packages again. Actually, I'm just going to do build. That should be good enough. Targets file change, so everybody's going to get rebuilt. While that's building in the background, we're going to stage this, because this is all part of the IL merge work, or the IL repack work, really. Nope. 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 And I don't think so. Shouldn't need any source changes. We should be looking for potentially csproj and maybe new spec changes. Core props, core targets. So here's csproj. I don't think that matters much. I'm actually going to skip any of the new spec. I'm literally just, I think, looking at csproj right now. So there's runner common, which I don't care about. None of that seems to matter. This runner console, this definitely matters. It's interesting. I saw this in build props already. I don't know. All right, so the CS proj, that CS proj needs to come in. In proc console, copy local lock file assemblies. That I think needs to come in so that basically ensures that all of our dependencies get copied. Although I don't see, we don't IL repack this, so it's not part of this. I don't think these props and targets matter at the moment. So here's a runner MS build with a repack and repack exclusions. We definitely want you. There's runner tdnet. Copy local lock file assemblies true with a repack true. And there's our IL repack. So we do that. Run a utility. Nope. That's not related. Build context. So the build context in our tool builder basically now says whenever you run the console runner, run the merged version. And that's just so that we can make sure that we're testing that the merged version still does what it's supposed to do. Which, by the way, all that stuff built, right? So let's go ahead and let those tests run as well. That will exercise this build context. And then NetFX project, this is for MS build. That's also for merged, so we'll go ahead and take that as well. CS files, props, targets, CS, new specs, props, new specs. Yeah, none of that should matter. So we've just got the IL repack work here. And in fact, I'm going to cancel this build. Stop. Never mind. I don't have to stop anything. There it is. It's stopped. And so this should be enable IL repack on XUnit v3 runner console XUnit v3 runner ms build and XUnit v3 runner tdnet. All right. That should be just the packing right there. So let's do that. Let's add and stash this stuff so we have a clean place to build from, and then let's go ahead and build again. And now we're not bringing in anything unnecessarily from the rest of our work, rest of our packaging work. Just make sure that the IL repack stuff does its thing. Everybody gets merged. The merged stuff still can successfully run things, which right now is just the V1 and V2 tests. Because obviously we don't have the V3 runner done yet for runner utility, which is why we're not going to ship the console and MS build runner yet. So we can see here that we are using the merged version of the console runner here to successfully run both V1 and now V2 tests. That all seems to be running. Okay, I'm a little, okay, I don't know if people are saying things in chat and I'm just not seeing it. First time jitters. So let's go ahead and come on over here. I want to say hello from here. Need to mute that so I don't hear myself. Say hello from YouTube. Let's make sure that's showing up in OBS. Okay, it does show up in OBS. Just making sure. Okay, good. And, you know, looking at quality, quality looks pretty good. 1080p 60 looks pretty good. Kind of curious what the 720p version looks like. Let's downgrade a bit. 720p still very readable, if a little blurry. Okay, good. Okay, build is finished. Very good. And so that all ran with the merge stuff, so that's good. Let's go ahead and, whoops, make sure you got the right focus, sir. Let's pop our stash. Okay, so what's next? What else did we do? So some reason we had to bring in guard over here. I feel like we made some change in a CS file. Must have been assembly extensions or environment helper, one of those two. We have assembly extensions. It's now using guard. So that's why guard had to come in. So this is target framework support. Target framework support. Why is that in here? That seems a little weird. All right, let's see what we can do about packaging. So I took owners out. If you don't have owners, authors is fine. We had duplicated owners and authors all over the place, so I'm just basically cleaning up. This change for Xunit v3 new spec. Previously, we were supporting Net Standard. And now we're going to do Net Core App and Net Framework 4.7.2 explicitly. So instead of saying we support Net Standard, where we just had sort of an untargeted dependencies, really. Actually, we didn't even make any claim whatsoever in dependencies. Here now, we're basically saying today, this is not totally into the future. This is just today, but I want to make sure that we set the stake in the ground. We only support .NET Core and .NET Framework. So remember, this Xunit v3 is a meta package, right? Its whole goal is to just basically say, you should have Xunit v3 Core, Xunit v3 Assert, and Xunit Analyzers. And so that's what we've done here. Because I started putting target frameworks here, I needed to put in empty lib folders to say, yeah, there's not really anything to link against. Because once you start putting target frameworks in here, it starts wanting you to have lib folders. So that's what that is. Actually, I'm going to pop all of that open and then close them as I look at them. I don't think I need this for this work. Exception extensions. Like some of this is, so I feel like some of this is not packaging. I'm not 100% sure how it all ended up in here. So test framework expects, okay, sure. Bunch of extension methods. This assembly utility. I feel like I was doing some cleanup here. So I just want to focus on packaging. So this change for props and targets, these things got renamed or moved around. So we'll see deletes here, and then we'll see adds somewhere else that will turn into renames. And then we can go look at what they actually turned out to be. So this NU5100, I don't remember exactly what this is. I feel like this is complaining because our new spec, if I remember correctly, our new spec is going to bring in a copy of testdriven.net. Right, I don't think it's this new spec. I think it's the other new spec. We'll take a look at that. But let's do a quick Google on NU5100 because I think, yeah, the assembly is not inside a lib folder, and hence it won't be added as a reference when a package is installed in the project. Move it to the lib folder if it needs to be referenced. This is just a warning. Because I have warnings as errors turned on, I want to turn it off. Plus, it's a warning that, like, I acknowledge, yeah, thank you for warning me about this, but this is actually what I intended. Because we have a new spec file here, we can get rid of description and title. We also don't need a reference assembly anymore because we're not using reference assemblies here. So it might be easier to look at these inside Visual Studio in their final form. So let's go look at the new spec for XUnit v3 core, because there's a couple of new specs here, right? So here's v3 core. So again, we have NetCore App 2.1, Net Framework 4.7.2. Those are our two supported platforms right now. We actually have no libraries. But what we do have are these new content package files and these package build XUnit v3 core star. So what exactly is going on here? So if I go look in the package folder, there's a build folder, and this is where the cores and props went. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here and let's go down to Interact files. So this is cores and props. So we'll go ahead and stage that. Core, props and targets, sorry. Props and targets for you. And then they were different enough that they don't look like a rename, but that's okay. So let's go look at what these files do now. So in a NuGet package, when you have a props or a targets file, these basically get to become part of the build process automatically for you. And the difference between a props toggle and targets file is you can do most of the same things in either one. It's just props files get included early in the inclusion process and targets file get included late in the inclusion process. So the props file turns on some things that we sort of expect. Project capability of test container. This is what gets you some of the light up inside of Visual Studio for Team Explorer, and also the little icon in Visual Studio that says it's a test project. In fact, we can probably see one of those if I reload this. That's this icon, right? That icon, part of the light up that test container does is to get you that icon. So let's go ahead and unload that because go away. We turn on debug symbols. We turn on output type of XC. This isn't actually working. It's still here, but I got to find out why that isn't working. And actually, I want that down here because yep, okay, sort wise. So is this test project true? Test project true. I don't know why there's two of these. You'd have to ask the VS Test people. They generate those. And then this generate program file we set to false because if you include Microsoft Net Test SDK, which you will if you do the Visual Studio Runner, they will auto-generate a program file for you. So if we go look, let's open up a new tab. Yes, I know there's a new PowerShell, but it's not on NuGet yet. If I go look in my NuGet cache, right, and then this is Microsoft Net Test SDK, right? And then 1691. You will see in their build, I think it's in build. Let's go to NetCore app, because I think they only do it for NetCore app. You'll see they have a CSFS and VB file, right? So these get automatically included. They will generate a main method for you automatically that is empty. We don't want them to do that. And if we look at these props files, and I guess it's in the targets file. So here you can see test project true is test project true, right? I got both of those directly out of here. Project capability test container, got that out of here as well. And then the targets, they basically say, if generate program file is true, then automatically include the C#, F#, VB stuff. We don't want that. We're going to generate our own. So we turn theirs off in favor of ours. And in fact, here's our item group that turns on ours. If we look at program CS in common test, this is the program file that we include everywhere. And it's basically a main method that calls the in-process console runner to start running things. So if they were to auto-generate their empty main method, then our auto-generated non-empty main method would not work. So we give you an opt-out as well if you want to write your own main method. So just like their generate program file, which in my opinion has too generic of a name. If you set XUnit auto-generated entry point to false, we won't include these, but otherwise we have a C# auto-generated entry points, an F# auto-generated entry points, and a VB auto-generated entry points. Right? So that's what's here in props. The other half of this then would be targets. I feel like in props, I want to do this, debug symbols. If you have not set debug symbols, I want it to be true. All right, I want you to be able to set this if you want to turn off debug. Why would you want to turn off debugging on your unit tests? I don't know, but maybe you do. So then here we do a choose. When you're running a .NET Framework, we absolutely need to auto-generate binding redirects. We want full debug, so full PDB for Visual Studio Test Platform v1. We want you to generate the binding outputs redirect type. And again, output type exe. Put this in both places. I don't know why it's not working. For everything that's not .NET Framework, we want you to use portable PDBs because that's what the VS Test Platform v2 wants. We still want you to do an exe. And then we have an after build target, which copies all of our TDNet files over. Interestingly, now that I think about that, I don't think that belongs there because we moved this to extensibility, so that does not belong there. And I also want to just move output type exe up here all by itself. Actually, I didn't really want to delete that. I wanted to copy it. I'm going to move output type exe up here because everybody gets an output type exe. I still don't know why it's not working, but it's not working. Okay, so there's targets. So the other thing we do is we have, you'll notice in the v3 core news spec, we don't actually have any of our DLLs, right? This is literally just the entry points. And so this is a package that's used by people who are writing tests. There's also a package for people who are writing extensions to XUnit. That's the extensibility package. And you'll notice that we bring in the extensibility core package here when you reference the core package. So extensibility package is where the DLLs are. So here's our net standard 2.0 DLLs. We also bring in the TDNet content stuff and our targets file. Andreas, MS Builds choose also has an otherwise in case you want to avoid the duplicate conditions. I did not know that. That is fantastic. We will do that right now. Whoops, that was the targets. Otherwise, perfect. Yeah, I did not know that. That are used if no conditions on sibling 1 evaluates to true. Perfect. Thank you very much, Andreas. Okay. Yeah, so the extensibility new spec has our DLLs. So you get the DLLs. You also get the ability to run things with testdriven.net. That doesn't actually work yet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually comment that part out at the moment because that's not working. And then we will go ahead and comment out this target as well. because that's not working. I mean, I've obviously been trying to get everything to work, but until TDNet can actually try and run v3 tests, it shouldn't even try. Um, it should go ahead and try and run it with the manual testing stuff in TDNet, which does, for the most part, work for facts. It doesn't work for theories. Okay, so that is packaging for core. So let's go ahead and stash that stuff up. So we're going to do this. We're going to take that change. Go ahead and take that change. We're going to take that change because that's all the otherwise and everything. This target didn't belong there anymore. And then, so this CSproj, this NU5100 is really all about making sure that when we copy that TDNet into there, it doesn't get upset. We also don't want it to compile any of those files like that. If I didn't do that, this entry point CS would actually get compiled here, and we'd get a duplicate entry point per stuff. So I don't actually want that compiled in here, right? That's not how that's supposed to work. All right, so let's go ahead and stage that. And then here's our new spec, which got kind of rewritten, which is good. We're not looking at C# changes yet. These CSproj changes can come in. So the mono-sessile reference actually is in runner utility, not in runner common. I don't actually know why it was up here. I think at some point maybe had put it up there, but that may also be related to some of this other stuff I did with assembly extensions, trying to get rid of mono-sessile up here. So I may find that this stuff doesn't compile without that. So we'll definitely check that before we push this commit. So let's go ahead and stage that. And then the console runner props, I think, what actually happened to this? Did we get, we have staged versions of these. Did these get moved? V3 runner console props. Runner console props. V3 runner console props. They were in build. Oh, did I move them into a package folder like everybody else? Is that what I did? Yeah, I moved them into a package folder. Okay. So we'll take these. These are a rename, basically. The targets. Got rid of the... Let's see. Wow. So the props. So this new spec change is good. We're not taking any CS files yet. Let's copy local lock file assemblies. Don't know why I need this. I feel like I don't need this. This copy local lock file assemblies, I think was when I was planning to use IL repack here. And I'm not planning to use IL repack. And we already tested the IL repack by itself. But maybe this is a packaging thing as well. It's probably a packaging thing. We'll stage it. New spec changes here are good. We're pulling in merged, even though we're not actually building it yet. That's okay. And then the CSproj changes are good. The mono-sessile got moved down here into runner utility. So that's all good. CS file, so the targets file, we're going to stage that. And then this is our extensibility core new spec. This is new. We're getting rid of the TDNet stuff for the moment. And this is the renamed props file. This is the renamed props file. The renamed targets file. This is the new inproc console's new spec. And I think the reason it does the copy stuff is so that we end up with runner common here. Because we do a package dependency on extensibility core. We don't actually have a package for runner common. We just copied along. That looks okay. And then run a utility. So here we bring in all of our dependencies and framework assembly references, particular system configuration, system web. These are not defaults. So if you don't have those in there, you'll get issues. And then there's our DLLs. Okay, so everything else. Oh yeah, we need our entry points as well. Those need to go in. So all the CS changes, I'm a little concerned that I need them to make this build, but I guess we're going to find out. So let's go ahead. Actually, we'll close that. Let's commit this as updates for initial packaging, initial alpha NuGet packaging. Okay. We will stash the rest. We will clean. And I think we just need to build. If everything builds, then we'll build the packages, make sure the packages are building okay. Yeah, okay. So here's runner common assembly. The old assembly utility had the mono-sessile reference. So the CS projects, this is what I was afraid of. Oh, afraid. This is kind of what I thought was going to happen. The CS changes here were to remove the mono-sessile reference out of runner common and move it into runner utility. So let's go ahead and add. My guess is I need all of these things now. So let's go ahead and do the quick review of all this. So we already saw assembly extensions is going to require guard because it's now using guard. So that's why this is here. So we moved to an extensions model for getting the target framework out of an assembly. So if we have an assembly, we should be able to just go get the target framework attribute out of it. All right, so this doesn't require mono-sessile. This is what's in v3 common. Anybody who has an assembly in hand can just go directly get the target framework attribute. Why do we need the target framework attribute? We need that because at some point soon, the console runner is going to need to know how to launch you. And how to launch you is different if you're a .NET Framework application as opposed to a .NET Core application, as opposed to in the not too distant future, devices application of some kind, like a UWP or whatever, right? We need to be able to do specific launch types. So that's why we need that. Okay, so that is good. We're okay with that. And unknown target framework is what we return if there's no target framework attribute. In my experience, you run a normal compiler process, you will always get a target framework attribute set correctly with your target framework. So like if I were to do, where's our ILSpy? Let me just pop ILSpy up. It should have some stuff in it from before. Or it doesn't, because we didn't. Did anything get built? Sure, that got built. ILSpy that. All right, here you go, target framework. This was built against .NET Framework 4.5. Right, so we need that information to know exactly what you were built against. Okay, ILSpy. Let's see, back here. So guard got a note to say, hey, by the way, this is now used in V1 tests as well as V2 tests. This was just a spelling mistake. This is an extension methods, not extensions methods. I started putting some things in namespaces. I feel like the namespace change. You know what? I'm going to unstage now. Shoot, I don't know if I can unstage the namespace changes. I'm going to try though. So assembly utility is what we used to do for a target framework for an iAssembly info. So you're gone, and instead we have iAssembly info extension method. So just like we had an extension method for assembly, we also now have one for iAssembly info, which is our wrapper around assembly. Here, because this is reflection, I can use get custom attributes on that and just get its constructor arguments to get the target framework attribute. So that's a way to do it where you sort of have the source-based information. All right, so here we're using the extension method instead of assembly utility. And same thing here. And same thing here. Well, this unknown target framework moved up into assembly extensions. This is the old assembly utility for runner common. You can go away. Use the extension method. And this is the new assembly utility. So this is the final version of this, which is, hey, I have a file on disk. Help! And this is where monosessile comes in. Monosessile, this module definition read module, can just read the file without having to load it, which is good. And I should be able to go get the custom attribute and then go get its constructor arguments, just like the old reflection system did. So there's our third way of reading these things. I did not make an extension method because extension methods on string, that would be a dumb way to do this. Okay, and then exceptions extensions just moved. So I literally have this one thing that moved into a new namespace, and I'm not 100% sure why. I think I was trying to clean up namespaces for v3 core to make sure that this lived in the right place. I'm perfectly content to make that a commit all by itself, and I especially am comfortable with the fact that I didn't see any source that needed to be updated to do that, so there you go. This, however, is an amend on our previous commit. All right, so go ahead and stash your namespace change. Now we'll do build packages, which will do a build first. Packages. And we'll see where this gets us. I believe, as I say, I believe we just came to the end of Crimson Tide. And now we're on Batman Begins. If you're listening along at home, that's where we are. So the build works. Now we should see some packages. Okay, packaging appears to be working. That's good. Okay. So the other thing I did was I made a test project called packaging. And here's what I did for this. So if you look at my NuGet config, I have a local pointing to the artifacts packages folder as well as, fallback to real NuGet. And the solution has C#, F#, and Visual Basic projects in it. So let's go ahead and open this in VS Code. It works in Visual Studio as well, but I also have tasks for VS Code. Yeah, I know. I'm aware that there's 713. I'm aware. Calm down. So I have this. There we go. So I have this command, which is go find all the bin and obj folders, delete them, and then go delete all the v3s out of my NuGet package cache, because once a package is cached, it won't re-download it. So basically this is a clean to cache, clean the build, and then run the build again. And so we have a build failure. Well, that's not good. Resolve assembly reference is bad. Okay, so what failed here is, looks like process cannot access MS core lib because it's being used by another process. What? What? Seriously? This is my C# project. Cannot find system DLL is being used by another process. What is going on here? Let's just do this part. And then build. Let's close all the Visual Studio codes. Is that who's working against us? Is the VS Code working against us? Yeah, it's VS Code working against us. Well, I mean, it happens. Okay, so we can see we have C#, F#, V#, VB, V#, VB executables, and then we have DLLs as well. So we have all the entry points. So for example, I should be able to just run that and it will run. All the projects have one failing test. I wanted to have a test fail so I could make sure that it was actually running it. So there is .NET Framework. And if I grab the .NET Core one, I should be able to .NET exec that. I can. And then that's that. Okay, if you ever wondered what the difference between .NET Run and .NET Exec is, .NET Run kind of wants me to just say dev packaging CS and then framework net core app 2.1. That's kind of what it wants me to run. Maybe I have to do project here. Yeah, I have to do project there. Double dash framework, of course, double dash framework. Why not, right? That's kind of what .NET Run does, and it does a build and restore. But like if you have a DLL already built, right, the .NET exec can just go run that DLL that's already built, and you can see how that's much faster. So I'm just kind of running that there. So what do these look like? First of all, yay, they still work. That's good. So what do these look like right now? The CS proj looks like, actually, let's ignore C# for a moment. We'll come back to C#. So here's F#. I don't generate program file false. I don't think I need that. I think that's a holdover from Microsoft Net Test SDK. I still need output type exe here, which at least on VB and C#, which I don't particularly understand why that is. I mean, how many times did I put output type exe everywhere else? I'll delete it and see what happens. But this is multi-targeting net472 netcore app 2.1. Here's my unit test. I brought in this just to show that we didn't have a problem of doubled up references. Assets file does not have a target for, yeah, so this is the problem I get with not having output type exe. Assets file doesn't have a blah, 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 blah. So it's like it kind of wants to believe that it's an output type exe, but it's like it didn't get that information soon enough to correctly do the restore. So I really don't understand why that happens. So If I don't have output type exe here, it doesn't work. But you can see here that we didn't, even though we brought this in, we didn't get a doubled up entry point and F sharp. Same thing with VB. VB looks exactly the same. We're just doing the XUnit v3 meta package here. C# I decided to do something a little different just because I wanted to test some of the other packages. Here I'm bringing in this again to make sure we don't have a doubled up entry point problem. I'm bringing in v3 core and v3 assert as source. I'm bringing in the reference assembly annotizer that I talked about earlier and the package download for that, which allows me to do nullable reference annotations for .NET Framework projects, even though it's technically not supported. And then I've also defined constants for XUnit nullable, XUnit span, and XUnit value task to enable those features in the source code version of the assert source. Those things are all behind predefined constants so that if you're using the assertion library as source code on an older compiler platform that doesn't have access to features like value task or span or nullable annotations, you don't get that by default. You won't get a build error. You have to sort of opt into those features. You bring in a binary, the nullable thing doesn't really matter because the binary already has it. It's not like you're compiling it. And then span and value task are already compiled and ready to go. So everything is already compiled. I did Lang version 9 and nullable enabled just so I could do the nullable annotations. So I brought those in as source. And you can see the difference here when I look at the unit tests. Actually, I don't know if it'll follow from F sharp, but let's try VB. So here, if I do assert true and I hit F12, yeah, so it doesn't actually do F12 here, does it? Do you do F12? No, apparently OmniSharp in Visual Studio Code only supports C#. Anyway, you can see here if I do assert true, if I hit F12 on true, if you look at this path, this is my NuGet package cache path, and this is the v3 assert source pre-324 that we built, content files, blah, 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 blah. Here's assert true. And in fact, perfect example of nullable. If you have nullable turned on, then we can put on the nullable annotation here, which says, hey, this won't return if this is false. It'll throw instead, right? And so, like if I were to do assert.null, another good example, right? Assert.null, null. Here we have nullable annotations, which say, this may be null. Then we allow you to pass a null version here, as opposed to not null, when we say, hey, if you returned, that thing's not null anymore. Which gives us, and I don't know if you can actually see this here. Maybe you can see this here. So var x is a default of string. And then we'll say not null x. Yeah, so it doesn't say, let's see, console write line x. What will you say? Oh yeah, there it is. X is not null here. And you get that because x is not null here. Actually, it shouldn't say x is not null here. Shouldn't say x is not null here until after this thing returns. So it should say x may be null here. But what you get is this annotation which says, hey, this is how this is supposed to work. And in fact, let's, instead of running in Visual Studio Code, which sort of has this sort of subpar experience, let's go ahead and close this and actually run it in Visual Studio. Which actually should also get us F12 functionality in all of our languages. Hey, look, we got a little bottle. Little bottle. So if I come here, we'll say x may be null. Why? Well, I guess it's saying the right thing, but x may be null here. X is not null here. It is null here. What are you talking about? String null. How could you say that? This is terrible. All right, anyway. So yeah, so assert true, we pop in This is actually obviously the real source here. We don't get to see a file path here, but if we were to say, actually, I think hover, it'll show us the big file path here, right? Um, thankfully, read only. Whereas if I come into the VB project and I drill into assert true, it will give me this version, which is assert from metadata, which of course shows me this thing looking very VB-ish. And you can actually see that it's got all the nullable annotations on here because that's how we compile everything. Okay, I am content that this is all working as expected. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. The packaging is doing its thing. And we still have this one stash, right? And then this is just move yourself into a new namespace. So move test framework options read extensions into XUnit v3 namespace. Okay. Don't know why this would break the build, but you know, we'll run it. Okay, so the build runs. All right, so what are we missing now? The reality is I think we're going to hop out of Visual Studio and instead hop into VS Code because VS Code gives me the file system view of the world instead of the solution view of the world, and we're going to need to look at some of our GitHub workflows. At the moment, we have a pull request workflow which installs .NET Core SDK 213150 and then runs the build project against the PR target and uploads all of the files in artifacts test. So what does that actually look like up here? It looks like this. Let's go to GitHub, XUnit, and then we go to Actions. And here is the XUnit.NET PR build, which has been failing a lot, apparently. Failing a lot. I would like to know why it's failing. I think it's probably going to be... I was wrong. Couldn't find MS build XE on the system path. Please run the build from a developer command prompt. Okay, so that's interesting, right? So we added at some point the ability to run tests with the MS build runner. However, we don't have MS build on the system path, presumably because we don't have Visual Studio. So how can I get access to MS build from a PR? Let's see. Install MS build XE in a GitHub action. This action sets up MS build XE as a CLI tool for use in actions by optionally downloading caching, a version of VSWare, to find MS build on the machine, adds the location of MS build to the path. GitHub action is now retired. Collaborated directly with Microsoft to release an official MS build GitHub action. Even better. Okay. So the Microsoft set up MS build action. All right. Let's see. Add MS build to the path. Use this action to set up similar flexibility in your Windows-based GitHub Actions runners. That's fine because we install Mono, or Mono's already available for our Linux stuff. So let's find out why our Linux PRs are failing. Yeah, we have a note. I have a note about this. About these tests failing on Linux likes, right? Failing on the Unix likes. Buffer TCP client tests. And so what happened with Mac OS? Same problem. Attempted to access an unloaded app domain. Nope, not the same problem at all. So this is running V1 and V2 tests on the Mac is broken. All right, so what's the easiest way for us to test this? I think at the moment, let's see, how to manually invoke GitHub action, manually running a workflow. To run a workflow manually, the workflow must be configured to run on the workflow dispatch event. Greet everyone, run workflow. All right, so we need the workflow dispatch event. Minus commit, let's see, workflow dispatch. On workflow dispatch. GitHub SHA, let's see, no activity types. Latest GitHub Rev branch, branch that received the dispatch. You can configure custom defined input properties, default, blah, 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 blah. So on workflow inputs, home, blah. So we don't need inputs. We just need to add an on workflow dispatch. So I think what we do is we do this. Workflow dispatch. Hey, you know what they were supposed to be. How'd you know that? Okay. I'm going to try not to be freaked out by that right now. Apparently I've got something that understands how to do GitHub workflows. Extensions list. Activate. Let's make you wider. It's not GitHub Markdown. It's not GitHub Plus theme. It's not pull requests and issues. I don't recall doing Jupyter Notebooks. That must have come from something else. .NET, still no. C#, no. I don't see anything obvious, so I'm freaked out a little bit. Only a little bit, though. So in theory, that should be all I need in order to be able to make that thing work. So let's go ahead and add that. Git diff add on workflow dispatch for the PR build. And it should be able to push this. And if everything is working correctly, I should be able to go to execute PR build and say, yes, I don't want to give you feedback. Sorry. Does that have to go into main? I bet it has to go into main first, doesn't it? View the workflow file, v20, delete the workflow run, disable the workflow, create a status badge. Okay. Let's cherry pick this over to main. And push. And see what happens. It would make sense that it wouldn't show up until you have your default branch saying that this workflow is a workflow dispatch. Yay! Run it from dev, please. Perfect. Workflow run was successfully requested. And there we are. Let's see how many things we are still broken on. I did not pull in the setup MS build yet for Windows. I should probably do that. So will it only work on Windows? Because it's kind of inconvenient. If that's going to be broken elsewhere. Source, main, products require, BSware exec, is Windows. All right, well, what other things require is Windows in here, right? Set failed. All right, so it's going to fail right away if you try and run this not on Windows. Well, that's really inconvenient. Okay, well, I guess my next thing is run GitHub action build step conditionally. If. If. Okay, perfect. So we want that is we want this. And we'll put you up here actually, right? If matrix OS Windows latest. Where's if? Show us the magic. That actually looks exactly like what I need. Okay. Let's see how our build's running. We expect Windows to fail at the end because of a lack of a misbuild. Doesn't even look like Linux has started yet. Or we only get to see conditional output. Okay, fine. We're building over here. That's fine. We'll go ahead and let this thing pop out. We're running tests. We like running tests. Kind of our thing, right? Might be the YAML language service. Oh, Andreas, I'm assuming you're talking about the how I got IntelliSense here. It might be the YAML service, YAML language service. The question is, is the YAML language service that I have installed, does it somehow get GitHub Actions enabled? I mean, it seems to understand Kubernetes. YAML schemas. Associating a schema to a glob pattern via YAML schemas. Do I have... I do not have anything here, which would have indicated that I did that. I'm going to assume that they must have some kind of a schema set up in here by default. Do do do. I don't remember where these things are. I think if I look here, they're here. So YAML would be the Red Hat syntaxes. Look at that, syntaxes. YAML language JSON. Oh, this just looks like the, okay, this is the actual YAML syntax file. Well, that's not what I wanted. What's an out? JSON schema cache, JSON schema content provider. Language configuration? Nope, that's still part of the schema. Scripts. What if I do an RGI GitHub? Okay, that's too much. How about RGI actions? IW actions. Wow, that's way too much. Holy crap. How about we look for GitHub actions? Anyway, it's probably in there somewhere. All right. How we doing over here? Ubuntu passed. Okay, that makes me happy. We expect Windows to fail because of a lack of MS build, but I'm happy that Ubuntu passed. What that means is, come down here to the bottom, we should see mono MS build, right? Microsoft MS Build Engine 16.6 for mono. Very good. So then the question of Mac. Literally just failed. Oh, this is a flaky test. I really don't understand why this test is flaky. Every time I look at this. Message bus tests. Message bus tests. Nope, not the V2. This is why I normally don't leave V1 and V2 loaded, but this is VS Code. There's no such thing as unloading a project. This is Q returns false for fail if stop on true. Just gonna have to skip you. Skip. Flaky. Okay. So Windows failed because of a lack of MS build, right? Because of a lack of MS build. Okay. So let's do this then. Okay. So the pull request workflow needs to get fixed here. So let's add GitHub. Add MS build to pull request workflow on Windows. And then we'll go to let's push that. So the definition of the workflow changes. Then let's switch to dev. Disable flaky test. Sad. I'm sad. Wow. I broke PowerShell. Trying to use an emoji. That's fantastic. Go team. All right. Let's go ahead and push that up. And now back to actions. Back here. Run this on dev. I think that should fix everybody. And we'll let that go ahead and do its thing. So this workflow dispatch thing, that's pretty darn helpful. Pretty darn helpful indeed. Let's go to XUnit analyzers. That's right. Make sure I have the latest version of analyzers. Why am I going to analyzers, you ask? Well, analyzers has an actual main push workflow that we would like to be able to steal. And I mean, as long as we're here, we should allow the PR to be on a workflow dispatch. And then on a main push, that's interesting that like I used an array syntax over here and an object syntax over here. I'm going to assume if I did this, it would say, what are you thinking? Yeah, I'm surprised that's legal. Like, I would think you'd have to do something like this, right? On workflow dispatch. On workflow dispatch. That's an example. So here, they definitely do not show this is not array style. GitHub Actions PR workflow dispatch. I was looking for, other examples. See, this definitely shows an array style, doesn't it? And then this shows an object style. Make up your mind. I'm going to guess you're allowed to do either one. But I mean, this doesn't feel like legal YAML to me. And yet, it's not yelling at me about being illegal YAML. So weird. Maybe it supports everything. Maybe that's just it. You can do whatever you want. Sure does seem like it wants to just do it all, doesn't it? Okay, fine. We'll come over here. we'll come over here. We'll move you here like this. Why not, right? And then we're going to do push main. And you need a push main. Push main YAML. Okay. We want you to be able to do workflow dispatch as well. Maybe I don't. Yeah, maybe I don't. Actually, let's not for the moment. So we do a CI build. So our push main, this is obviously, we want to do the same things that we do for pull requests, except we don't do it on a matrix. We only do it on Linux. So CI build runs on Ubuntu 18.04, clone source. So basically we want all the steps. We'll go ahead and we'll push you out here. So we want clone source 213150 get info build the target CI, not PR. And we need some environment variables to make this work. I guess we put those above the run, although it doesn't really matter. And then upload artifacts. Okay. Question is, are these secrets org secrets or are they project secrets? Let's go look. Think. All right, we're going to pop you up over here so that we can move on with our lives. Secrets. Repository secrets. So they are already here. I guess I must have just pushed them here. 2019. Probably the same time I set up the other ones. All right, so this is XUnit analyzers. Mm-hmm. On the Slack webhook URL, you can go away. We don't have Slack anymore. Bye. Bye. No org secrets. I mean, these really ought to be org secrets, but I don't think org secrets existed in 2019. That's really what it comes down to. Actions-wise, how you doing over here? You're still building CI, right? You're still building? You're still pushing? Logs of this run have expired and are no longer available. Well, okay then. Actions. Okay, how are we doing over here, PR build? You're good. Kind of curious to see how you're doing. All right, so here's our push main. That looks okay. We compare that over to this. Which basically, actually, this all looks the same. The only difference is I need an extra SDK over here. Oh, get build information. .NET Tool Restore, .NET NGBV Cloud, all of ours. Do I still need that? I guess I must. I'm assuming if I run that here, we're going to get nothing. .NET Tool Restore. Okay. So no, that is not a .NET tool here. So I don't need that. Oh, whoops. Analyzers needs it. probably because, yeah, so it's doing the versioning stuff a little bit differently than what we do. I don't think I need that. Like, I think if I needed that, I would have needed it for CI as well. Because what I should be seeing in CI, oh, look, Windows failed again. PR, Mac is good. Um, we should be building packages. See, I got versions here. That's a version. That's a good version. And you don't actually build packages. So what is your problem? We didn't find MS Build. Um, yeah, where's our MS Build step? I don't think if I rerun the job, that's going to help. No, it's like it's got a cached version of the workflow file. Oh, wait a minute. Do I need to? I bet I need to. Oh, I bet. Huh. Do I need dev? All right, what's going on here? So this is pull request and push main. Let me stash these for a moment. Let me rebase this on top of main. Right now, if I come look here, pull request has this with this. I wonder if that's a requirement. How far did we go field here, by the way? Sorry about that. Dry throat. Talking too much. There's two things on main. Yep. Okay. Let's go ahead and push that up. Run on dev. Okay. Let's go ahead and pop my stash again. Stash pop. Okay, so that's just whatever. Actually, unstage that. I don't actually care about that. Discard that. Just care about push main. So 213150 .info. Build the CI target with our secrets, which are here. Always upload artifacts for test. We don't upload the NuGet artifacts to the artifacts stash because the CI target does publish packages, which pushes to NuGet. Okay. You can get minimized. Just want Windows to work. Just work, Windows. Let's see. So if I were to push this into main instead of dev, then it would cause packages to get built and pushed, which is our goal for today, right? I have dropped no frames today. I am of the belief, hey, I had to misbuild the path. I'm of the belief that all my frame drops before were probably caused by Comcast and not encoding. I was probably asking too much, doing 6 megabit streaming on a 10 megabit connection. Especially a somewhat unreliable 10 megabit connection. Feels to me like I am going today to Comcast to cancel my internet. I wish the actions runners were faster. I think I'm good with our push main here. It feels right. As we upload the artifacts. Publish token, sign client user, sign client secret. Leave myself a note, which is use org-wide secrets on GitHub actions. This publish token is kind of interesting because that's the MyGet publish token. There is no NuGet publish happening here. Let's make sure that our publish packages target is good. Skipping, yep, no, okay. Go find all the nupkegs. NuGet push source, MyGet, API key, package file. Okay. Now we wait. Now is the time in sprockets and we dance. I was just gonna say did I leave my stream open? I did not. Your channel. Currently live. And muted. Yep, looking good. As we sit here and wait. The whole process for streaming to YouTube is a little bit different than Twitch. Especially if you want to pre-schedule your streams. If you don't want to pre-schedule your streams, you can just go get a stream key and say start streaming and it will just make a stream. But if you want to schedule your stream, then you need a stream key that says, by the way, I'm starting to stream against that scheduled stream, which means every time you come into OBS, you have to update the stream key. Similarly, I have the reason I had been checking the YouTube chat window that's embedded in here is the YouTube chat window for your stream. There's like a pop-out. The way you do it is you get a pop-out URL for your YouTube chat, and then you dock it inside of OBS. I'll slide this over here so you can see it. All right. You dock it inside of OBS. The problem with that is that that URL changes for every stream. So regardless of how you go live, you need a new URL for that every time. Some people have solved this by somebody wrote a PHP service that they just leave out there, and you say, hey, go get the chat URL for the currently scheduled stream, which is kind of a weird thing on two fronts because it's assuming you have a scheduled stream, but also you're trusting that some random person on the internet that it exposed a PHP endpoint for you to talk to is not, doing something nefarious with that. And I didn't look particularly deeply into whether there was an open source version that I could run on my own server, because frankly, that would be fine. I have a server, file server, backup server that runs here that could very easily run that, even though it's PHP yuck. I mean, I don't want to yuck your yum if you're a PHP developer, but also, why are you here? If you're a PHP developer, this is for .NET. But I don't care. Somebody's gone to the trouble to write the service. I'd like to use it, but I don't know if I just want to randomly send my stuff over to someone on the internet. And yeah, you get it. I'm sure you get it. All right, Windows, do your thing. I think this is ready to go. I think I'm gonna go ahead and commit this so we can push it and then maybe merge it into main. Git commit. Let's see, add CI GitHub action. Right. And push that up into dev. Now if I come look over here, we got a nice straight line. Oh, v3 TCP runner, you're falling so far behind. I think I should be able to just merge dev into main and push it when I'm ready. Actually, I'm going to do that right now. Git merge dev, fast forward only. Good. So now we're ready. Just need to push. Our official build happens on Linux, so the MS build thing isn't a problem. Also can't help but notice Linux is by far the fastest way to build stuff in GitHub. We've been staring at that green check mark on Ubuntu for like 2 minutes now. Not so much with you, Windows and Mac OS. What's going on the Mac OS side? All right, you've been running 9.15. Ubuntu, man, wow, that was like, I said about 2 minutes. Man, that was exactly 2 minutes. That's creepy. Ah, Windows green. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right, I put timings on everything. 7.5 minutes, you say. You say 7.5 minutes. You say 7 minutes 40 seconds. Yeah, I'll give you 10 seconds of slop. You say 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, well, if you took 7 minutes and 20 seconds and you took 7 minutes and 40 seconds, where'd all the rest of that time go? Clone is slower. Installing all the .NET cores is slower. All right, clone's fast. We didn't have to run that. The .NET cores are much faster here. Those are all fast. Those are all really fast. Those are actually the fastest of them all. And then build target PR just taking all freaking day. I'm feeling confident about this though. I'm ready to push. I'm ready to push and see what happens. As we head over to actions, GitHub CI action already queued, baby. Which should show us a new workflow. Analyzer CI build. Cancel that run. How did I miss that? Okay, typo. Typo. There you go. Oh, see, I didn't know I was gonna didn't know I was gonna rename it. I could have left that there. But we'll go ahead and delete the canceled workflow run. Now we'll go watch typo. Oh, this is like really sad. Where are we? The last song of Batman Begins. All right, we're gonna skip. I know it's only got a minute and a half left, but it's kind of depressing. Push main on push. Clone and installs all nice and speedy. Get .NET info. Like to see it. 1804. There's 213150. 50201. That's good. Means they're keeping everything up to date. And there's our build target. This is mostly going to be the same. Majority of the time going to be taken up by running tests. But at the end, we should build packages, digitally sign them, and then upload them to NuGet. Then we can go to our packaging project and delete our custom package location and see if we can do our restore from NuGet and instead put NuGet in there. So while we're waiting for this to go, let's go do that. Here we are in packaging. Did I close packaging? I did close packaging. All right. Let's go ahead and open packaging again. And let's go to NuGet config and let's remove local. Add key is NuGet. Value is something. Let's go to our NuGet gallery, go get our URL. Connect to feed. That's the one. That's the one. Okay, so I believe that if I do my delete now, you should not be able to build. Ta-da! Okay, good. Typo failed. Why? It's not good. Oh! I forgot about these. I gotta go delete, I gotta go disable these. Buffered TCP client tests. Yeah, flaky. More flaky tests. Buffered TCP client tests. Skip is flaky. Skip is flaky. Skip is flaky. So that was buffered TCP client test. What else was flaky? Was actually just buffered TCP client tests. Okay, let's go flake those up. Yeah, diff. More flaky tests. More sadness. Let's go. Oh my god, Mac, what are you doing? I feel like you fell off the earth. Did you fall off the earth? What in the world are you waiting for? You're going to time out. Something happened. Yikes. Actually, leave that NuGet gallery page open. We're going to go look at some packages. Ugh. The other thing I have on my slate to do, let me go find that link and bring it over here. Oh, forget about it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what NuGet is, this is kind of an interesting thing. If I go to NuGet and I go to, let's go to packages, xunits dot extensibility dot core. Open in NuGet Package Explorer. Ooh, okay, cool. We do Package Explorer. It can actually show me what's in this package. But the cool thing is it can also show me what changed between 240 and 241. Nothing? Yeah, I don't believe you. How about 20? There you go, 38 additions. Great. So 38 new things added between 2.0 and 2.41. I need this functionality, but I need it not here. I don't want to wait till I publish it to NuGet. That's too late. But also I need to combine two packages on one side and compare it against a package with a different name on the other side, none of which any of this stuff does anymore. But I asked about it, and this is apparently where the API diff gets its stuff from. And I mean, looking at this, well, first of all, it uses monocessel, which makes sense, right? It's just going to load up some assemblies and just start dumping information out to files and then diffing those files. So I'm totally going to steal this so that I can make a breaking changes list. I mean, this isn't a lot of code, as it turns out. It's just not that much code. So I'm totally going to steal this to be able to do a breaking changes tool for XUnit v2 to XUnit v3, which I think will be a requirement in order to be able to more properly fill this in, because I have breaking changes here and I only have a few of them. That is nowhere near enough. These are just a few things I thought about at the time that I was making them and put them here. So I really want to be able to use a tool to generate this kind of a list, because getting people to move on to v3 is going to be, well, for people who are writing tests, I'm hoping I don't really break anything. But for people who are writing extensibility, I'm going to break stuff. Like, that's the whole point for v3 is to break stuff, right? That's the kind of stuff I want to break. Oh, why am I not looking at this? So that's on my list to do. We've been streaming 2.5 hours. My guess is once I get some packages up there and I can prove that they can be pulled down and that unit tests are being generated and everything is working as is, then I'm probably done. I think I'm done for today. It is too nice outside to be streaming for 6 or 7 hours. I'd really like to get like I said, it's 60 or 15 in C and sunny. I'd like to get my battery back into my motorcycle and clean and lube the chain and make sure the tires are good, make sure there's enough oil and all the stuff you got to do before you take your bike out of winterization, even though it's like early March. And I'd love to go for a ride today, but even if I can't go for a ride today, if I can get all that stuff done, and I can start riding again soon. Because, man, oh man, I've definitely missed riding as a cure for some of the pandemic lockup blues. I'm very ready to get back out on the road. Okay, so while this is doing this, okay, this is going to be a painful one. Oh, this one's going to be easy. Right, we just want to push you forward onto main. Right, Mr. Dev. Right. Go ahead and push. But, let's see. So I want to get rid of the v3 packaging alt branch. That's where all that work that I just did came from. I still have a v3 packaging branch, but there was some broken stuff that I'm asking the Microsoft team to look into. I'm going to leave it there until they tell me they've stopped looking at things. Can I get v3 TCP runner back on this branch? Get rid of. This'll be fun. Actually, let's not do this. No. Abort. So here's the thing, like v3 TCP runner was on this branch before. This updates for NuGet packaging. That's what we turned into all of this stuff. All of this stuff. I should be able to cherry pick the whip and the more whip branch. I think. What I need to do is I need to switch to v3 TCP runner alt. Switch create. Let's cherry pick that. Hmm. Right, this was null message sync. Oh yeah, it didn't. Okay, we definitely want this side for that. So that's left and left. Okay. I hope they're all going to be this easy. Conflict. Thinks the whole file has changed. Why does it think the whole file has changed? Oh, they're new in both cases. That probably means left is correct. Because again, that's going to be null message sync instance. Yep. Next conflict, please. Left, 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 even though these tests are flaky and not running, some of them now. Okay. I'm going to assume this whole thing is left. Because I moved this to a return based on a state. Return based on a switch. Switch expression. Okay. Created, for sure left. Next conflict, left. Next conflict, left, left, left. Okay. What was the... Oh yeah, your whip. That's it? Oh my god, I did this wrong. Wow, I'm dumb. Reset hard. It's fine. Switch to dev, please. Delete the v3 TCP runner alt. And then switch create. Alt. And from here, do the cherry pick. Okay. No wonder. No wonder. Okay, so then where's the other one? Oh, why did I close Sublime Merge? No. More whip. Copy. Copy, copy, copy. Cherry pick. More whip. Build. Let's see how our CI is going. Okay, what happened here? Couldn't find a part of the path. V3 core package build. What? What? How is that possible? Okay, you're fine, alt. Everybody close. Let's go to main. Let's clean. Actually, let's not do it here. Let's do it here. Because Linux is where we run everything. Yeah, main's fine, right? Pull. Clean. Build CI. See what's going on here. Did I break the build on Linux and not realize it? Those can stay. That can stay. Did I... What happened here? What did I break? So weird, right? It's in here. Package build files exist, right? All right. Oh, they're uppercase P. Oh my God, they're uppercase P. That's what it is. Case sensitivity problem. You can just stop now. You can just stop now. It's all right. I understand what's going on. Okay. Find package build. Another typo. Typo. But let's go ahead and build the packages anyway, just to make sure it builds. I mean, it's really kind of a bummer that you have to wait 8 minutes to find out you have a typo. You just get canceled. You're never coming back. Packages build. Do a CI build. It won't take 8 minutes. It'll take a couple minutes, but it won't take 8. You can close. Come back on the Windows side. Are you gonna run? You're really problematic right now. You might not run. I don't remember what state I left you in. Like I tweeted about some successes I had. They're very tentative successes. So like this. Hey, testdriven.net. I got testdriven.net to kind of work once. And then I got the console runner to work once. It's got a lot of failures around Unicode. Generates HTML. Woohoo! Look, it launches a bunch of processes. Woohoo! But it's pretty unreliable. This is part of where its unreliability comes in right now. I don't know what this is. I think if I go back, past more whip and just onto whip, which is why they're still separate, I think this should be working. I just wanted, you know, all this to work. I wanted the rebuild. This is like a sorting problem. I've seen this on occasion. Man, why do I end up with so many flaky tests recently? Also, how do you have a sorting problem? I use order by and link. Is link broken sometimes? Like, what the hell? I don't get it. Flaky, 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 flaky. Alright, how you doing, Windows side? Just want, the world to be normal again a little bit. That would be great. Thank you. Good. So, if I go to v3 TCP runner, I hard reset you to v3 TCP runner alt. All right, whip and more whip. You can v3 TCP runner alt can go away. You can get pushed. Whip and more whip. So v3 packaging alt. Which I think we're done with. What's going on, Linux? Yeah, no sort order problems today. Sometimes I don't get you. Okay. Push you up. See what happens. 8 minutes from now. You can get pushed up. Dev. That's not what I meant. I meant this. Get. What am I doing? Hello. Do you remember how anything works? Nope, not really. Not anymore. Not 3 hours in on a Saturday. Okay. I think this is going to work. I think if it doesn't work, I'm going to fix it later. So I think what that means is we're going to call it. 8 minutes from now, I'll find out one way or another. It's almost 3 p.m. I need some lunch. I really need to, do some things outdoors, for my soul. So I'm going to do that. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today. Hopefully you learned a bit. Hopefully I wasn't too boring. Yeah, we'll see if this YouTube experiment works. So far it seems okay. Anyway, that's it for today. See y'all next time.